That was Mark Hoffman stopping in and talking with us. And Cole is looking into see if we will have a this recording. I believe so. I think all the sessions are being recorded for to be available later on to session participants. So if you've missed one, I believe you'll be able to listen to one of the other ones at a later date, or I don't know when they'll be available, but Cole is looking into that now, so we'll get an answer on that soon, I'm sure. But I believe we will, but I'm not the expert. That's Cole's job. One other announcement I forgot to mention this morning, or even yesterday. I got a quick note from the International Emergency Management Society, or TEAMS, and they wanted me to see if I could quickly mention that they've got a new certification coming. They're looking and have been looking at a global certification in emergency management. Theirs is TQC, which TEAMS International Certification Qualifications, I believe that's what it stands for. And what they are doing is taking a certification that can be basically a global recognition. They've looked at other certifications in emergency management, and some of them are kind of regional or only acceptable in specific countries, according to some of the research they've done. And so they're putting out a new certification that will be recognized globally, TQC, and they're going through the final stages of that now. So congratulations to everybody working on the TQC at TEAMS. I'm sure that can't be an easy thing to do, because there's probably exams and applications and everything involved, just like there is with ours, with BCI and DRI and many of the other ones. So if I hear anything more about TQC, I'll pass that on. But otherwise, you can just go to their website, teams.org, TIEMS.org, and I believe they've got some information on their site there. So take a look there. Yesterday, I was talking about some well-being, as a result of COVID-19 and how people are responding. And inadvertently, I realized I've been giving you some of the information that's in my presentation later tomorrow. But at one point yesterday, I did mention Dr. Lawrence Barton, who wrote Crisis Leadership Now. He wrote it a few years back, and he said that over the last couple of months that the sales of that book have taken off probably better than when it was initially released, when I first purchased it. But congratulations to him. But because I mentioned him yesterday, as soon as I finished talking yesterday, I went to the door because my co-host needed to go outside, and I received his new book. A copy of his new book was waiting for me on the doorstep. The Violent Person at Work, here. So I look forward to reading that book and probably talk to him about that. But it got me thinking with some of the comments that I had about well-being, and just talking with Mark now about the roundtable he's going to have later on about going back to work. With people working at home and struggling with some mental health issues because of isolation, or quarantine, or having gone through COVID, or known somebody who's gone through COVID, or worse, passed away because of COVID. Going back to the office, it may not be the best situation for everybody, because they have been suffering, with mental illness for the last few months, and dealing with and struggling with, surviving through the impacts of COVID-19. So I'm looking forward to reading this book, because I think leadership and employees in general, I don't think it's should just be one area or one hierarchical level that needs to pay attention to this. Excuse me, if people do come back to the office, some people may be happy about it, some people may not, some people may be struggling with integrating once again and getting back to the new routine, in the office. And so there could be some issues And I think some of those are covered in the violent person at work. So I really hope management pay attention to these sort of things when we go back to the office. And employees are also a part of this. And I think everyone needs to be trained, to recognize if someone's struggling or having a problem. And if someone is struggling and having a problem, hopefully they don't feel embarrassed enough or ashamed enough to put up their hand and say, hey, I'm having a difficult time. There is nothing wrong with that. So I'm looking forward to that book. I just thought the timing was rather interesting, knowing that I had mentioned it yesterday, and then the new book shows up on my doorstep at the end of the day. So, but on to other things. So I'll go through my little book here with things to talk about. I had to make an appointment yesterday when I finished here to get my flu shot, because my birthday is in the fall, and you always get an annual checkup. And I said, I will also need the flu shot. And as I was making the appointment, the person kind of was saying, well, some people are saying they want the flu shot, and others are saying they don't. And I'm not quite sure why people would say no, through COVID-19 right now, why they would say no to a flu shot. I know some people have their beliefs, and I'm not going to go down that road and talk about religious beliefs or anything like that. That's not what I'm about or what the show is about. So we'll stay away from there. But it's a health concern, and I would not want to get flu. I've made no secret, mild bronchitis, which only under very few conditions does it ever bother me. 99% of the time it doesn't. But if I catch a flu, and I'm stuffed up and have trouble breathing, and I'm not wearing a mask, or I'm going outside, I'm not social distancing, that flu shot hopefully will protect me. But otherwise, I'm kind of opening the door, almost inviting trouble. And I don't want, at this time of year, and with what's going on in the world, I don't think that's wise. So hopefully everybody out there gets their flu shot. I'm going to be getting mine, in a few weeks when I have my physical, my annual checkup, make sure that I'm happy and healthy. I don't know about the wise part, but happy and healthy anyway. So we'll be getting that just to make sure. I don't want to be taking any chances, and hopefully nobody out there wants to take any chances either. I did. My pen's running out. Oh, there we go. I have some sad news from my end yesterday. As I was going through Facebook, I found if some of the comments were true, sadly, someone I knew a few years ago passed because of COVID-19. Now, I haven't talked to them in quite a few years, but for many years, we chatted, every couple of days, and as friends and acquaintances do, you separate and go your different ways. But still, that was sad to see, that someone now I knew, even if it was some time ago, has passed of COVID-19. So that gives me even more reason to want to have my flu shot, and eventually, when it's available, have the vaccine shot. I know there's all kinds of arguments of when it will be available. I'm not looking at it until, late spring that it will be available to me. I think the first responders and the healthcare professionals and those that are vulnerable, the elderly, etc., will probably get it, and rightly so, get it before me. If I'm healthy, then I can wait and wear my mask and stay at home, and I'll be fine. But when that comes out, and if all the healthcare professionals are behind it and support it, then I'll be taking that vaccine when it comes out as well. But like I say, that probably won't be available for me for quite a few months yet. First we have to prove that we've got a proven vaccine, through tests, which are still ongoing right now. When it comes out, I'll be there, and I'll be taking care of myself and my health, because I don't want to, well, one, I've got to take care of myself. Who else is going to do it? And two, if I take care of myself, I'm better able to take care of others. There's a reason why on airplanes, they get the demonstration with the airbag that comes down, put it on yourself first, then take care of someone who needs it, whether it be a young one, an elderly person, or just anybody that's beside you who needs assistance. Take care of yourself first, and then you're better prepared to take care of someone else. So I'll be taking the flu and the vaccine shots, and we'll see. And it's been a while since I've had the flu, and last year everything was a-okay, a little cold every so often, but that tends to happen anyway. I'm in Canada, we all get colds. So, but hopefully when that comes out, I'll be taking it. One other thing, and I like I said before on the show, I don't like to get political, but there is, by not taking, by extension, what I just talked about with vaccines and things, and taking the flu shot and being responsible about it. Obviously, we've hit some instances right now where there's been some irresponsibility, by people, leadership, and not caring, about others, or at least it gives that appearance of not caring about others. And I'm not going to mention any names. You can probably figure that out for yourself on the headlines on the different news stations. But you do really have to take care of yourself. And, by not taking care of yourself, you are harming others, and we're seeing that. We're seeing that with COVID-19. The same thing can happen with the flu. People that go to work, oh, I've got to go to work. I need to go. I'm such an important person. Well, no, you go to work, you feel bad, and what does everyone tell you? If you feel bad, go home. Why'd you come in today? And that comes from your boss, your colleagues, or just people walking down the hallway. So if you are feeling bad or something, get your self checked out, or don't be reckless, and put others' lives in danger. You never know who they come in contact, and you may not know if they have an underlying condition, that if you give them the flu or pass on COVID or cold, that it sets off something else. They could have an underlying illness. You don't have to know about it. They don't have to tell you about it, but you could harm them and harm someone in their family or in their little bubble, because you've passed on your illness irresponsibly to others. So be aware of that. There's no need to be a hero. Taking a day off, or two, to get better. I used to have that same feeling, years ago. I've got to go in, no matter how bad. And every single time, boss, whether it be a manager, VP, or whoever, director, would say, just go home, feel better. Yeah, we need such and such, but I'd much rather you feel better. You'd be surprised. If you do have a boss that you think feels that way, you may not be right. You may just, have a problem with your boss and think they feel that way. But most people know. They all want everyone else to feel better and do better. So if you're not feeling good, don't be reckless. Be responsible. Don't put other people in harm's way. And you all, I'm sure many of you know what I'm talking about. Something else Mark brought up that I noticed, and which didn't come up yesterday, but I guess I should touch on for a little while today, at least, and that was the civil unrest, the protests that are going on, that people are out there, not social distancing. Some are, many are wearing masks, many aren't. Some are wearing masks not really for COVID, but to unfortunately cause problems. And that causes other issues for organizations and companies and shops, small business owners. That they are going to have some problems, I think. Or at least it's estimated. I think the probability and possibility there is much greater around the U.S. election time. What's going to happen? I'm hoping not. I think the people in general are much smarter and better than that. But I still think that something may occur, and if it does, we've all got to be responsible. It's going to be a situation for organizations. It's going to, if people are going to the office, or are, a small percentage still going to the office, they still have to be in certain places. There could be still impacts on public transit, accessibility to office towers or downtown areas or business areas. Some of that could still come into play. So I think a lot of organizations, no matter where they are, should probably take that into consideration right now. Just so anybody who is going into the office, 25% of our staff still goes to the office, the rest work from home. It's 100%, unless you're frontline, essential, in an organization, you have to be there to turn on the switch at 12 o'clock or everything collapses, whatever the case may be, then, you do it from home, if you can, of course. But otherwise stay at home, and get out of the way. You're already dealing with COVID. You don't need to deal with other situations as it is. Take precautions. Like I said, I hope nothing happens, but it is a probability and a possibility from what we've seen in the news and what some groups have said that, organizations, we need to think about it. Communities need to think about it. And as individuals, we need to think about it. Do we want to put ourselves in harm's way? No, I don't think any of us do. So consider that, especially for the communities and people listening in some of these bigger urban areas in the U.S. especially, but anywhere, just in case something happens. Be, like I always say, be prepared. And we're going to have to. It's a possible consideration. We're going to have to look at it. We don't want to have more disasters than what we're already dealing with. So think about that. And what's happening. What are the things that we talked about? Oh, Cole, I think Cole's answer. Cole, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Were you able to get an answer on if we're recording all the sessions?
The answer I have at the moment is that they will not be immediately available. We're still trying to find a good way and platform if we're going to be able to do that.
Okay.
So not at the moment. You won't be able to view sessions that happened yesterday, today. We're exploring options, though.
Oh, okay. That's good news, though, because at some point, it sounds like at some point they will be. We just don't know the how part yet.
Right.
No, that's good because, people might want to listen to our 5-hour chat.
Yeah.
Everyone's got to sleep at some point, so you might as well turn me on, right? Okay. Well, thanks for that, Cole. For getting the answer for us. So as you said, we're all these sessions that you're attending. If you've missed one, at some point, they're going to make them available. It's just the finding out how. We're going to make them available for everybody. So that's good news. Because there are a lot of interesting sessions out there right now, and people have a lot of good things to say. And I guess that's just the nature of any conference, whether it's face to face or virtual. There's always a couple of sessions that we want to attend. And they happen to run side by side, and you can't be in one, or you spend half your time in one session and run to the other, but you've already missed half the information in both, so you don't get the value that you wanted out of either one of them. So it's good to actually be able to listen to them later on. As I say, I'm talking at 12:45 today. Heard it on the radio, but radio is crossed out on my presentation and internet put in there just so that it's internet radio host. I've as I was rehearsing this morning and last night, and especially last night, I found that I've kind of been giving you all some hints at what's in there. Some of the thoughts and things that have been said. The difference is today I'll be telling you who is saying it, and where I got some of these tidbits of information, and suggestions. So hopefully you can join me for that, and hopefully my voice continues on. it should be. I'll probably be taking a drink of water every so often, like now. There we go. Just as I continue to talk on and on and on. And so let's see, what other things can we talk about this morning? One of the things I did want to touch on with crisis management is, and I'm not sure if I said it yesterday, but because we were talking about crisis management and talking with media and expressing ideas, being transparent, and I've said it before on the show, and I'm not sure if I've said it yesterday, but there are times when a spokesperson or a company leader will kind of skirt around issues and not cover them properly, or misquote them or misstate them to give a positive twist. And that's how, I'm not pointing to any specific example here because it happens so often. But what that tends to cause, what causes is, if you're not coming across transparent and honest in your communications, it's being transparent. This is what's happening. This is what we don't know. Social media will take over for you, and will start communicating the message, the wrong message usually, for you. So rumors and conjecture will start flooding the internet airwaves, and the message you want to get out there suddenly is gone. You've lost control of the message you want to portray, because you weren't being honest to start with. If you try to hide something, well, people are gonna, I get the feeling they're hiding something, so they're gonna ask other questions, and they're gonna ask other people, and they're gonna go looking for something. Well, why are you hiding this? And then they start digging things up that you didn't want dug up, and that had nothing to do with the situation you got at hand. And that tends to happen quite a bit. Jerry McCusker, who is a crisis management expert, who's an expat Scot living in Australia. He's got a book or two out, and gives some interesting examples in there of, I can't get his, I wanted to get his book this morning, but it's at the bottom of buried in a big pile of books. As I mentioned, my bookshelves broke a little while ago, so gotta get new ones. So I couldn't find it to get a specific example, but he still states in his book that, if you're not forthcoming with situations and you may think you're trying to protect people from what's really going on, you don't want to scare people or panic people, that's the very thing that makes people start digging and start coming to their own conclusions. So it's the opposite effect. You think you're actually helping by not giving all this information, and it comes back to bite you. I know I did a session years and years ago at an insurance company. We were giving an awareness session to everybody in the organization, and we had a bunch of town halls. There were lunch and learns. There were all kinds of things. So everyone got to be involved and give their input, what they expected. And somebody, we got on the topic of social media. It was still relatively new back then, but still enough people knew about it. And they were saying, well, if something happens, I'm going to send a note off to, a friend or a family or someone they know, and let them know what's going on. And we got talking, and, you got to be careful about that, because what if you're sending notes off that aren't true? Just because you haven't heard from Alex, doesn't mean I'm in danger. Doesn't mean that I've been harmed or anything. I may be contacting somebody else. But what if a colleague sends off a note on social media saying, Alex, we can't find Alex, we don't know what's going on, and my family sees it. Now, unintentionally, you've panicked my family, and I may not have been able to reach them yet, or phone lines are busy and I can't get through, or they can't get through to me, but they see this post from someone else, stating what's going on. And now they're panicking unnecessarily. They think something's wrong, and then what tends to happen? They get in the cars, however, and go to the impacted site, and they end up basically getting in the way, and that doesn't help anyone's situation when actually I'm fine. So you got to be really careful with what you say on social media. As a leader, be open. If you don't know something, say it. If you do know something, say it. And as an observer, someone on the outside, don't just start spreading information off to other people. You could cause crises for other families, friends, children, who think something is terrible happened to their dad or their mom or, their brother, whatever the case may be. And it's all for naught, just simply because, we're so attached to our phone. I'm not sure if I said it yesterday, but I remember going through an evacuation, not with a place with the tree, the assembly location, but a different one. The alarms were going off, and before we even got to the doors, to leave our floor and evacuate, and it was a fire drill. Every second person typing away, and I heard one talking, going, "Oh, I'm just sending so and so a note." As they were talking to their colleague, I'm just going to go meet him at the coffee shop. I'm like, oh my God, these people, if this was a real situation, you disappear and we might think you're still up here, injured on the floor, or can't find you. And, even though people saw you and you're actually sitting across the street in the coffee shop. And I've actually seen that, where, it's a fire drill. The person is taking attendance, their floor monitor ticking off names. Yeah, this person's here, they're here, they're checking in. And they couldn't find a couple of people. And someone turned around and they could see the few people sitting in a window of a nearby coffee shop just watching what was going on. So, it was a comical moment, but at the same time, if that was a real situation, what could have happened? Panic. Where'd they go? Where are those three? So really pay attention to a lot of, what's going on communications, and how you do things like that. But so I got off on track a little bit on that one, but as I talk, sometimes it reminds me of different experiences that I've gone through. We talked about civil unrest. I've got all these topics to touch on here. And one of my favorites, I took a training course here with BCP plans, by the way, and we got talking about BCP plans. Actually, I'm going to back up. I'm going to go to my very first contract when I went self-employed, with Stone Road, my company, and they had an issue about 2 weeks before I got there. I guess it was kind of one of the reasons why I was there and started so fast, but they had an issue, and they got through it and did what they needed to do, but they realized that they couldn't use their business continuity plan because it was a huge binder about that thick, one of those big ring binders. It was just huge, and hundreds of pages. And one of the first things that first part of it was nothing but what I call fluff material. Who's this document for, who reviewed it, who signed off, all sections, all the fluff, the stuff you don't actually use in a real situation. And I'm not one for that. I tend to all that information, as valid as it may be, I tend to keep in a separate document, which is for audit purposes. Here's who gets all our documents. Keep it in a solid place there and give that to audit. Here's our maintenance plan. Here's when it was last checked. Here's all the sign-offs. The plan within the first couple of pages better have an action item. While theirs being so huge, they were halfway through, and they still weren't finding action items. It was just information, the BIA results, their risk analysis results, and findings reports and presentations. And this was all supposed to be the business continuity plan. So it was so huge that it was unusable. And when I took a training course over in the spring, the adaptive business continuity course with Professor David Linston and Mark Armour, one of the people in my group mentioned that he had business continuity plan, and he was new in his role, and they also it was 700 pages, or 700 or 1500, or maybe one of each. I forget. But he said, how do you use something like that? And I'm wondering how many people have business continuity plans that are so large that you can't use them. The only plan that I ever saw that was useful that had that many pages was a detailed plan on how to rebuild a mainframe. Literally, tape libraries, everything that was involved with this thing, and within the first 3 pages, it started to have action items. It was useful, and that was from literally from the ground up. If everything was gone, how to rebuild a mainframe. It was I don't want to say a user manual, but it was very detailed, very specific, and full of numbers and acronyms and words I can't even pronounce or have never even seen since. But that was the only plan that I think would, along that lines, that would warrant that many pages. 1,500 pages for a business continuity plan. Time's ticking, and time is not a friend. During crises or disasters, it's not on your side. There's never enough. You always want more time to be able to do things. Well, the demands and everything you need to do goes up, but the time you have to do it goes down. So these 1,500, 700, ridiculous binders full of information that means nothing when you really get into things. What's the point of these binders? Who were they for? Were they done for audit? And audit's not even going to be able to make sense of it. They're just going to look at it. Okay, well, you've got all the different pieces, but we're not the ones who's going to be actioning this thing. But it's all there, so it's fine. But all this fluff information, no one's going to look at it. No one's going to need it. So there's no point in having these big plans. The users, the people who are going to action it, whoever they may be, and it could be different people in different areas. You can't make the assumption that everyone is available to action, the plans. If I'm assigned, ABC business continuity plan to enact it and follow it, you can't assume I'm available. I could be, halfway around the world visiting family. I could be having the flu, hospital. I could have COVID. It could be anywhere. Just simply not available. Someone else has to be able to pick that plan up and be able to follow through. And right off the bat, in the first few pages, it better start telling me what I need to consider or what I can do. Under certain circumstances, consider these 10 things, in a checklist approach. Can't do that, can't do that. I can do this, right off the bat. And I've seen more useful plans when they're only, that big. And, all this information in these plans, as valid as maybe some of that information is to different areas, it's not usable. We can't use that. It's just ridiculous. So with business continuity plans, and some people tend to, I've noticed when they say business continuity plan, they're including everything. And by everything, I mean it's incorporating the crisis management plan, contingency strategies for, department or a division, or they've got a plan that repeats itself over and over and over again based on the scenario. I tend to look at things, there are 3 kinds of impacts: people, places, and things that need to be addressed in your business continuity plan. People, your employees, including management, places, your facilities, satellite offices, regional offices, your main head office, data center, whatever you've got, and things. And things to me are, the technology, functions, applications, it's not people and it's not a place. Everything else falls under things. And by extension, you have a fourth part where you've got your suppliers who should also, on their end, have something that's documented to address their people, places, and things, because your suppliers, who are you're dependent on, if they have an impact to their people, places, or things, it's going to have an impact on you. So what's your contingency? So I've always looked at it that way: people, places, and things. And just by saying it, in a business continuity plan, people tend to understand you. Some of these plans, and I'm sure many of you listening have seen them, they try to address every single scenario under the sun. And if you've ever seen a fishbone diagram, you've got your main disaster and then these different branches that come off. We have a disaster, and it's an earthquake. Well, an earthquake can impact, A thing, can impact B, can impact C, can impact D. Oh, and if D occurs, and you end up with all these tiny little branches, and you end up with a business continuity plan trying to address every single thing. But if you don't have the basic plan just for the earthquake, then what's the point of all this extra detail? You're just recreating, page after page after page, the same stuff over and over and over again, which gets confusing for people, because now they're starting to respond, trying to find in this plan something that's documented for that one specific scenario, and every disaster is different. And you can't predict what's going to happen, but you can predict that a situation will impact my people. What do I do with my people? What needs to happen? Have I lost 10%, 20%, 30, 40, whatever? Are there casualties? And you can take it from there. But if you keep it under the guise of my continuity plan with people, I found it interesting with a really large call center a few years back. I just asked the question. I said, what if I took 20% of your staff away? How would you continue operating? And they said, whatever, same thing. We wouldn't change a thing. And I said, furrowed my brows. And I said, what? You take 20% of your staff? And they said, yeah, that's like summertime. 20% of the staff in the summertime are away on vacations, with vacation sick days or taking an extra day off, whatever the case may be. That's roughly 20%. So we would just continue operating as we are, which was kind of interesting. But, okay. So what does it take, for you guys to have, be in a big situation? They said, well, probably be more like 40% of our staff gone. Then we'd start having impacts. So I thought that was rather interesting. But their plan, was a lot thinner and addressed the same thing. The people, places, and the resources, the things. So with business continuity plan, sometimes if you can't get people to understand what we need to focus on, just put it in simple language that people can understand. People, places, things. When I started using that, I'm going, oh, okay. And they started to think and come up with a lot more ideas rather than what do you do under this situation and scenario, and then you take that basic scenario and then you're changing it again and again and again, and you start confusing people. And then after a while, people just go, okay, I can't figure everything out. So, they walk away, and you end up with plans that don't meet anybody's needs or expectations. So I thought that was an interesting point, on BCP plans, especially when I came across a note the other day that was talking about, some of these 1,500-page plans. Man, I can't understand how anybody would be able to use one. I really don't have any clue. Let's see, what other wonderful things are happening in the world today? So I think we talked about this, and we kind of touched on it this morning, actually, with Mark, that business continuity, we need to work with other areas, and I liked Mark's example. And if we do get to see this presentation, and me talking and, through this whole session, he did put up a slide of a cyber attack, had one line on it, and, all the things they need to do, which he doesn't recommend changing. He just recommends that at some point, there's kind of a branch that comes off there of business continuity and what they would do, how they get involved. Because my concern has been, sometimes that there's a lot of people talking about business continuity almost in a way of taking over everything. And I don't think that's realistic, and I'm glad Mark didn't see it that way either. He had a great way of presenting it. And with security, we're having worked with security professionals, I know they have specific protocols with cyber attacks. When people are trying to, get in, hack, and all those kind of things, they have their process. And at some point, if needed, depending on what the situation was, then business continuity got involved, and we activated what we needed to activate, if anything, depending on what the situation was. So I really like, the fact that Mark was pointing out that no, business continuity is not taking over everything, because really it's, there's talk of, it sometimes as though we being, sometimes business continuity is an afterthought. It's privacy and business continuity, security and business continuity, or something in business continuity. We need to be a part of things, but not separated out in an afterthought. I wish I could remember the words of someone I spoke to who said that, at times it's as though business continuity comes after the fact all the time. And that, in a way that's fine. If there is a cyber attack, well, we're not involved immediately, but we do get involved quick enough. And that's how we got to show some of our value, to get involved with some of these different situations. Where can we help? Cybersecurity professionals cannot do everything, as, and respond to everything, and be everything to everybody. That's impossible. Nobody can. And information security and risk, they all have their own industries and practices. We need to make our practice as well known as theirs, and we work with them, and they work with us. We have to reach out, and do that. And I think I liked how Mark put it in his diagram, and hopefully when this is available to everyone, people will see the slide that he put up, or I think it was in his presentation yesterday as well. So you can have a look and see that slide in there. It's just two bars, security, and then branching off business continuity. So that was business continuity, being a part with other groups. What other wonderful things are happening? Quite a few things. Maybe it's time for a little bit of a break. My throat's getting a little dry at the moment. So I'm going to talk to Cole here for a second and let him know that we're going to take about a 10-minute break, just so that I can give my throat a rest. Otherwise, I'll never make it through my my talk at 12:45. So Cole, if you could put up a banner for 10 minutes or so. If you like that video, thumbs up. If you didn't like that video, thumbs down. But leave me a message and let me know your thoughts. Of course, don't forget to subscribe. And in the meantime, stay prepared, everybody.